But let's do it. So today's daf is daf pay chet 88 in Ketubot, and we were at the last word on pay zayin and bet, which is Amar of Papa. So the last thing we said was basically that a husband, not a husband, a wife, sorry, can be forced to make a shvuah to collect her ketubah in many circumstances, and one would be if there's a witness that says that he already paid it off. So there you have a full valid witness who says, I saw him pay the $500,000 or whatever it was. She claims it never happened. He says you're lying. So what happens? So there she has a shtar, or even if she doesn't have a shtar, it might be the same case, but she has an assumption that you have a ketubah. He doesn't have proof that he paid it. He has one witness. And one witness is not enough, but it does require her to make a shvuah, midrabanan. Amar of Papa, now this is Papa, the top words on pay chet. Excuse me. Ipikeachu, if the husband is smart, mighty ledidei shvuah doraita, he can actually induce her to make a shvuah doraita. Well, here Rashi goes through what. So why does it matter whether it's shvuah drabanan or shvuah doraita? And Rashi says that the shvuah doraita is much stricter because we make her hold a sefer Torah, we make her use Hashem's name. It's like a lot more powerful. Tosfos doesn't like that, but that's Rashi's explanation. Says Rav Papa, he can force her to make a shvuah doraita because what he could do is the following. He can pay her a second time. He claims he already gave her the $10,000 for a ketubah. She claims she didn't get it. There's one witness that says he paid her. What he can do is he can write her a new check for $10,000. A second one. We'll see why it's worthwhile.
How do we know that there's a shvuah d'Rabbanan and a shvuah d'Oraita? I mean, yesterday we had a shvuah that's d'Oraita, but is this the first time we're learning that there's such a thing as a shvuah d'Rabbanan?
Yeah. So meaning shvuah d'Rabbanan essentially just means that the Rabbanan require you to make a shvuah. The question is, what's the difference, right? So Rashi comes up with, and again, Tosfos doesn't love it, but the simplest explanation is that, look, if it's the rabbis making me swear versus the Torah, there's a much more pressure from the Torah than the Drabanan. But Rashi actually says there are specific differences, and he goes through here that midoraita, you have to, as I said, hold the sefer Torah, and you have to use Hashem's name or some version of Hashem's name. And midrabanan, it's really just a klala, just like I should be cursed if this what I'm saying is not true, which is not nothing, but it's much less strict. But Rashi makes the big difference whether you hold something. Tosfos again brings proofs from the Gemara that we have later in Gittin that doesn't seem to be the case. Anyways, these are kind of questions. Tosfos makes the other point that there's differences between who we trust to make the shvuah. Right, a shvuah d'oraita, you have to be sort of believed. You have to not remember. We had all these cases of who can't make a shvuah if you steal, you lend with ribis, if you etc. And d'Rabbanan, the bar is much lower, so it would be smaller. So more people can make that shvuah. Either way, how do you force her to make a shvuah d'oraita about this ketubah? So what Rav Papa explains is if he's smart, he would pay her a second time, give her a second $10,000, right? He's got to have money for this. And he gives it to her ba'api chad sada in front of another witness. So there's one witness that first time, one witness the second time, and then samich sada kama sada batra. He can connect the two witnesses. They can both come and testify and say, look, we saw the husband pay his wife $10,000 for a ketubah. Not at the same time, but we both saw it. It's two witnesses, and therefore you've got to swear. If you claim that not that you have to swear. You don't get the ketubah, right? So she doesn't get the ketubah. She give back the $10,000 basically. However, she still has $10,000 from the first time. But the thing about that is that he can say, look, I have proof I paid you the ketubah. The first time I gave you $10,000, it wasn't for your ketubah. It was a loan. I was giving you $10,000 to start your business. I have no proof, no documents of that, but I have one witness that saw me do it. And remember that for loans, one witness is enough to make a shvuah, right? It's only for ketubah that you need to. So basically what he does is mukim la lahanach kamai b'milveh. He makes the first payment a milveh. So she's got to give back the $10,000 the second time. Well, not to give back, right? She can't collect again $10,000 because she has two witnesses that she got her ketubah. And she's going to have to swear about the first one. And if she can't swear, she'll have to pay it back. So it's a shvuah d'oraita. Now, if she lies, she's going to lie. You can't stop that. But at least it's a shvuah d'oraita. Matkefar Shisha Breder Avidi. Shisha Breder Avidi. What are you talking about? The second witness will combine with the first one. What connection do they have with each other? They weren't in the same transaction. How could they prove that she got her ketubah? Because I saw it 2 years ago and you saw it yesterday. Elamar Shisha Ravidi. No. What I meant was the following: Yav la ketubata ba'apisada kama visada bacha. The first witness should combine with the second witness to watch and give her another $10,000. Then they come to court and they say, look, we are two witnesses that she collected her ketubah, she got $10,000. She's very happy, he's very happy. But then the husband pulls out, oh, by the way, 2 years ago, I have a witness that says I gave you $10,000. And she says that never happened. He says, well, I gave it to you and it was a loan and I have a witness, you got to swear. Right? And once it's a loan, you have to swear. If it's a ketubah, you don't have to swear for one witness. But if it's a loan, you do. Well, why can't she say, why can't she just say, well, 1 second. Oh yeah, I remember now. 2 years ago, you gave me $10,000. That's because you had two ketubot. And there's no document, there's no proof, but I don't know. How can you prove it's not the case? Elam Ravashi, no. It has to be who the modale. It has to be where the husband explains to these witnesses, look, this is what's going on. 2 years ago, I gave her $10,000. She's denying it now. I want to give her a new $10,000. I'm going to turn that into a loan. There's no claim. She doesn't claim that there's two ketubot. Basically, you lay it out all ahead of time, in which case, in theory, the husband could force her to make a shvu'ah on the initial $10,000 that he gave by basically paying her ketubah a second time, getting the ketubah out of the way, and then going back to the first payment with the witness. Interesting. Continues the Gemara, 2 dots, Minachasim Mishubadim. So next case in the Mishnah, Stan, good morning, we have the 2 dots, which are on Peichet Amud Aleph, around 10 lines down, and we're saying that if a woman comes to collect her ketubah, her husband divorces her, and she comes to collect her $10,000, and husband has no money. So she goes to his lenders, right, his debtors, like his lenders, or people he sold property to, I actually don't know what you call that, and says to them, look, my ex-husband sold you property. It was mishubat to the ketubah. I can collect your property. There you have to make a shvu'ah. Now, it's not hatam. We learned in a Mishnah in Shavuot, orphans who only collect with the shvu'ah. This is what do you mean they collect? Who are they collecting from? Miman. Ilema milova, that they're collecting from a lender, right? Borrower. That the father lent $1,000 to a person. The father died. You told him come to collect the loan. So it says, why would they have to make a shvu'ah that they never were paid? Right, their father was able to collect that shvu'ah because he has a shtar. Right, you have a document that says I lent you $1,000. Inhu b'shvu'ah. Why would the children, who are usually more powerful because they're yitomim and they don't actually know everything that happened, why would they have to make a shvu'ah? Ella hachikamer. This is what the Mishnah means to say. V'chein hayitomim min hayitomim. If you have orphans collecting from other orphans, meaning Ruvain lent Shimon money, or Ruvain has a ketubah that he's due to Rachel, and they both died. And now there's inheritors, there's children of each of them coming to court. There, lo yifru ella b'shvu'ah. You don't collect ella b'shvu'ah because
grandchildren or something.
What?
The grandchildren of the guy who.
Or it could be her children from a different marriage, let's say, or yeah. So Yitomim collect without a shvu'ah. With a shvu'ah, because even though Yitomim would collect without a shvu'ah, once you are collecting from Yitomim, you have to make a shvu'ah. Now, Amr B'Zreik Amr Yehuda. That's only true. Lo shanu. That's only the case. El Sha'amru Yitomim. It's only if the orphans came and said, "Look." Again, we're talking here not necessarily about a ketubah, but about a loan, right? So Ruvain lent money to Shimon. Ruvain and Shimon both die. Their orphans both come to court and say, well, Ruvain's children come to court and say, we want the $1,000 back that our father lent Shimon. Shimon's your orphans come and say, we don't know anything about it. Okay? Says Reb Zrika, that only true, El Shamru Yitomim Amar Lanu Abba Levitiu Parat. The only time that the Yitomim have to make a shvu'ah, and the shvu'ah has to be that we don't know that our father owes the money, that's only if they say, look, our father told us that he borrowed the money, but he paid it back. So then, if you want to collect, you've got to make a shvu'ah, right, from the Yitomim, because they claim that it was paid back. Avo Amru, if the Yitomim say, Amar Lanu Abba Lo Laviti, if our father says, our father before he died said, Ruvain's going to come and tell you that I borrowed $1,000, it's false. It's not true. Then, af b'shvua lo yipara. Then they can collect. Reuven's kids can collect, even if they make a shvua that it was owed, right? Matkifla Rava, what are you talking about? Adarabba. Just because there's a star. Remember, there's a document here. It says that Reuven lent Shimon $1,000. Shimon's orphans come to court and say, our father said that it was a mistake, that he signed this by mistake. He thought he was signing something else. It never happened. Ask Rava, what do you mean? Anyone who walks into the room and says, look, I know you have a star that I owe you $1 million, but never happened. Don't we say that if you say, I never borrowed it, it's as if you're admitting I never paid it back, right? Because I say it never happened. So I'm basically admitting that I didn't pay you back your $1,000. I'm claiming that it never happened. But there's a star, right? So why would they be patur even with the shvua? He said it backwards. What Rav Zreika Amar Rav Yehuda meant to say was, Lo shanu, that you can make a shvua and collect. Ela sh'amru yitomim. If the Shimon's orphans come and say, look, Amar lanu Abba laviti uparati. Our father, before he died, told us, it's true I borrowed $1,000 from Reuven, but I paid him back. I just never got documentation that I paid him back. Then Reuven's children have to swear that they don't have any proof of it. They have to confirm, now they can't say very much because they weren't there when the loan happened, but all they have to swear is that we found no documentation and no word from our father before he died that he paid back this, that he was paid back this money, right? But if they say, Avo Amru, Amar Lanu Abba Lo Laviti, if they say our father said he never even borrowed it, then they lose all credibility because there's a document. And then if in Shalom Shvuah, then they can collect, Reuven's orphans can collect from Shimon's estate without a Shvuah. Shekol HaOmer Lo Laviti Omer Lo Parati. If you say I didn't borrow it, it's explicitly admitting that I didn't actually pay it back, and therefore you have to pay it based on the document. Final case, not the final case. The next case in the Mishnah was Nifrat Shelo B'fanav Tifrat Lo B'Shvuah. If a woman's collecting her ketubah not in the presence of her husband. Excuse me. Amar Vacha Sar Habira. Maaseh Balafnei Rabbi Yitzchak B'Antuchya. There was a story that happened in front of Yitzchak and Antiochus. I don't know where that is, but far away. It was a Greek place. Amar, and he said, Lo shanu ela lektubat isha mishum china. They only made this rule about a ketubot isha because it's unpleasant. It's not nice for her to have to sort of wait around. Let's say her husband goes away, right? We talked about yesterday. Husband divorces her and goes on a big trip. So if she can't collect her ketubah while he's not there, then obviously she's going to lose any ability to support herself and to, take care of herself. But but if you lend money to someone and then you want to collect it, but he's away, you can't just go to court and say, I want to collect it. The guy has to be there to make a claim and say, I paid it back, or I'm going to pay, whatever it is. You have to allow the guy to come to Beit Din. That's what they said in Antiochia. But Rav Amr Nachman said, I disagree. Afilu Balchov. Because otherwise, every time you lend someone money, I'll go to you, borrow $1 million and move to Las Vegas, right? Every person will borrow money from his friend. You won't have a lot of friends for a while. It happens all the time, right? A person goes around the neighborhood, they borrow money from a lot of people, and then they move out of town. And if you can't claim the money without them being there, then no one's ever going to lend money. Right? So now, obviously, you're smart. You're not just giving someone $1 million with nothing. There's collateral, right? But if you have to be able to collect on that collateral, even if the person is not in front of you. And that is what Rava says, and that's probably how we paskin. I think that's how we paskin. Continues the Mishnah. Sorry, the last thing in the Mishnah was Rabbi Shimon Omer, Kol Zman Tovat Ketubata. Rabbi Shimon, remember, said in the Mishnah yesterday that any time that a woman comes to collect her ketubah, she has to make a shvuah. But if she's not coming to collect her ketubah, she doesn't have to make a shvuah. Now, what is Rabbi Shimon arguing about? Right? We had many cases in the Mishnah about you make a shvuah, you don't make a shvuah. If the husband wrote in the ketubah, you don't make a shvuah, then you don't have to. If she's an apotropis, remember if she was assigned as the business manager, then she does have to make a shvuah maybe. Right? There were a lot of different details. Then this past Mishnah, was if the ketubah is damaged, she already paid back some of it, or already got some of it. If there's one aid, so what's Rav Shimon arguing about? Where is he saying you have to make a shvuah? Amr Yirmiyah, he's talking about the following words in the Mishnah. The Mishnah said, "V'nifra'at," the last words, exact last words. If you're nifra'at shelo b'fanav, if you're collecting your ketubah not in the husband's presence, then lo tipara ela b'shvuah. That's what the Mishnah said. Comes along, well, one second. Our Mishnah implied lo shna lemizoni v'lo shna leketubah. That's true whether she comes to collect her ketubah. Remember, the husband divorces her. There's a clause in the ketubah that until he pays her the ketubah, she can continue to eat from his family's estate, right? That's mizonot. And he continues to get her money. Because until she's paid the ketubah, she's not totally released or free from his estate. So now, let's say she comes to collect money and she says, look, I need $1,000 to pay for my food for the next month. And the Yorshim said, not the Yorshim, the court says to her, I want you to swear that you didn't take any extra money, right? You didn't take anything extra. So then that implies that if the husband's not there, she can only collect that money from mizonot with the shvuah. Lo shna b'mizoni, whether it's money for her nourishment, and lo shna l'ktubah, or it's a primary principle of her ketubah. But either way, if the husband's not there to give more information, and she wants to collect from his estate, she's got to swear. That's the Tanakam. And then Ata Rabbi Shimon Lemimar, 1 second. No, it's only the ketubah. Kozman shetovat ketubata. If she's claiming her ketubah, then Yorsha mashbiinota. Then the children can make her make a shvuah. We get that. But if she's eno tovat ketubah, meaning she's only asking for money for food, then ein Yorshin mashbiinota. Then they cannot make her make a shvuah. And in fact, that's based on a Mishnah. Kamifli beplukta sorry, not a Mishnah, Braita. Kamifli beplukta of Chanan b'nei kohanim gedolim. Chanan, here you showed up finally in this Gemara, not the first time, but there's a machloket between the Tana, Chanan, and the children of the Kohanim Gedolim. I don't know who they were, obviously a very unusual kind of designation for the Tanaim. But these were children of great families of the Kohanim Gedolim. And they argued that Chanan, Tznan, sorry. I can't, my Gemara is not very good.
Are you picking on me?
Sorry?
You're picking on me?
The Gemara uses your name. What am I going to do?
I know. It's not the first time, though. I think
it's true. I agree. It's not the first time, but it's always fun, right?
Yeah.
It's not. But there's a Mishnah later. We're going to have this later in our Masachet that says Misha halach the Medinat Hayam. A man goes away. He travels to India for business, and his poor wife comes to court and says, "Look, he left me with no money. I'm starving. He left me with a month, $500. I'm running out of money. I need to get money. I want to go to the bank." And they ask the guy, the husband's nowhere to be in contact with. Ishto tovat mizonot. Now, of course, the bank says to the woman, what are you talking about? He would have never left you with no money. He probably gave you $100,000, but he's not here to tell us. So we don't want to give you more money, right? So what happens? Chanan Omer, tishava besof velo tishava betchila. That she does not have to swear in the beginning, meaning you give her money for her food. At the end of the day, meaning at the end of their marriage, when either he dies or divorces her, then she wants to collect her ketubah, she'd have to make a shvuah. It says, I didn't collect more money for my ketubah than I was allowed to, right? But she does not have to swear in the beginning, meaning right now, in order to collect mizonot. You give her money for food without a shvuah. It's not her role to prove that. And the B'nai Kohanim Gedolim said, Nech b'tu alav B'nai Kohanim Gedolim. No. She has to swear all the time. He's not here to defend himself. We don't know if he left her money or not. The only way we can resolve this is by making her make a shvuah, tishava betchila ubesof, meaning for mizonot and for her ketubah. So Rabbi Shimon in our Mishnah is kichanan. It's like Chanan, the Tana Chanan, that you only make a shvuah for the ketubah, and Rabbanan kibnei kohanim gedolim. This is Gemara, but that doesn't add up to the words of the Mishnah at all. The Mishnah's case said that the Yorshim make her make a shvuah. Now you're talking about a case where she went to Beit Din to collect food. Matkif Rav Sheshet. You wouldn't say Yorshim mashbiyanota. You would say Beit Din mashbiyanota mibayle. Right? The case you said is where her husband went away and she's trying to collect food. It's up to the court to give her money for that. And the question is, do the court make her make a shvuah? So that can't be the explanation. El Amr of Sheshet. They're talking about this halacha. There's a whole different halacha that we had earlier yesterday in the Mishnah, which said that a woman who goes, mikever ba'ala lebeit avia, a woman who goes from the grave of her husband, she's burying her husband, holcha mikever ba'ala lebeit avia, and she goes to her father's house, Oh, shechazala beit chameh, but she's not made an apotropis, so she was never assigned to be an executor and a manager of the husband's estate. So then she never doled out any money. Ena yarshin mashpianota. The yarshin cannot require her to make a shvuah that she didn't collect money under the table or take what was in the bedside table. She can't. They can't make her make a shvuah. She was never officially in charge of his estate. However, im naset apotropia, if they did appoint her, that she, the wife, the widow, is going to deal with his affairs and pay for all the expenses and upkeep, etc., then the Yorshim can come in turn and say, look, we want you to swear that you didn't do anything funny with the money, right? Then Yorshin mashmienoto ala atilavo, about things that happened after he died, we said, vein mashmienoto al mashavar. But none of they can't make her make any shvuah about what happened during the marriage. That was the husband's business. It's not the Yorshim's business. And so that's the Tanakam. And after Rabbi Shimon the Meimar, 1 second, the only time that they can make her make a shvuah, kozman tovat ktubata Yorshin mashvienota. No, they can only make her make a shvuah on her ketubah. But if she's not asking for a ketubah, meaning if it's other expenses that they paid for food or for house remodeling or whatever that happened in between the death and the settlement of the estate, the Yorshin cannot make her swear. If it's Eno Tovat Ketubata, Ein HaYorshin Mashvienota. And what's the basis for that machloket? That's the machloket of Abba Shaul v'Rabbanan. The Miflagi Beplukta, the Abba Shaul v'Rabbanan, the very important machloket of Abba Shaul and Rabbanan. Excuse me. It's none, as we have in a Mishnah in Gittin, Apotropis Sheminu Avi Yitomim. It's an interesting case. It's not really our case, it's a Gittin case, but it's important for us today. Let's say the father of the orphans, right, before he died, the man knew he was going to die, or he was afraid he was going to die, and he assigned a person to manage his estate. Okay, he said to his friend Ralph, right, I want you to take care of my estate. Here's the keys, right? Here are all my bank cards. Here's all my power of attorney. And then he died. And then 3 months later, the Yitomim come to court and they say, we don't trust this guy. We don't trust Ralph. We don't think that he was doing everything in the best interest of our estate. I think he was skimming off the top. He was self-dealing, whatever. Everyone knows these cases. Can you force Ralph, I'll call him Ruvain now. Can you force Ruvain to make a shvuah that he dealt honestly and he didn't steal any money or take any extra money from the estate? So says the Mishnah, if he was appointed by the father of the estate, the Yitomim, then he has to swear, Yishava, that he did everything okay. But Mino Beit Din, if he's a court-appointed executor, then the court basically gave him their trust, and then Lo Yishava, and he doesn't have to swear. Okay? Interesting case. Abba Shol says, I completely disagree with you. It's the exact opposite. Chiluf advarim. It's the exact opposite. Mino Beit Din, if the court made him the executor, then Yishava, then he has to swear. But Mino Avi Yitomim Lo Yishava. If the father did, then he doesn't have to swear. It's very interesting. Again, it's not our discussion, but we have time. The Gemara in Gittin goes through a lot of this, but that the Tanakama is of the opinion, look, that if the court appointed someone, then they get the stamp of the court, right? And then the court said, we're hiring you to take care of this. You don't have any liability, right? It's not your responsibility. You do the best you can. We trust you. You got good record. We're not going to make you swear. If the father appointed any regular guy, there's no clear proof that that person is an expert in this. That's the Tanakama. Abba Shaul says the opposite. And the reason the Gemara explains is that according to Abba Shaul, a person who's assigned to be an executor by court is a position of honor, right? If you're chosen by court, we see this today, right? If you're chosen to be an arbitrator by court, it's a designation that court trusts you. And you can tell other people, you can get respect from that. There's something you gain from it, basically, because you're a court trusted official. And therefore, we can make you responsible to make a shvuah because you're willing to take the job, even though you're going to have to swear. But if some random guy asks his friend to take care of his estate, and we say to him, oh, you're going to have to go to court and swear, no one's going to agree to do it, right? Why would someone accept the responsibility to handle this complex financial estate and know that everyone's going to be questioning, right? So if you didn't exempt him of the shvuah, no one would agree to do it. So that's the basis for the argument between the Tanakama and Abba Shaul. But what is the relevance to us? That's a case in our Mishnah, right? Our Mishnah is talking about a case where the father, before he died, the husband, right, appointed the wife. He said, I want my wife to be the executor of my estate. And then he died. And the wife handled the estate. And 3 months later, the orphans come and they say, we don't trust our stepmother, right? We don't believe that she did it properly. So we want her to make a shvuah. But she was an apotropos appointed by the father. So that's the machloket. That Rabbi Shimon holds like Abba Shaul, which means that you don't have to make a shvuah, sorry. The Rabbanan, Kirabanan, like the Tanakama, that if it's appointed by the father, you do have to make a shvuah. That's fine, but that's not accurate from the woman's standpoint, right? It's not kozman shetovat ktubata, implying it's adding that whenever anytime she's collecting her ktubah, it's saying in tovat mibayle, if she comes to collect, you would give it. It doesn't imply anything additional, which would be the language of the Mishnah. So it can't be referring just to that straightforward case. El Amr of Papa, I got another explanation. Where are we? Sorry, let me find the place. Amar Abaya, sorry. That's why I didn't have it. We're around 12 lines from the bottom where there's an aleph, if you have that aleph in yours from the Torah or. Amar Abaya, or Masorah Shas, actually. Said Abaya, El Amar Abaya, aha. The following case. This was, remember, a Mishnah that we had yesterday, where if the husband writes in the ketubah, Katavla writes to her, Neder ushvua ein li alayich. I will not require you to make a shvuah in order to collect your ketubah. Then we said, you can't make her make a neder, right? But if he writes, neder v'shvuah ein li v'lo yorshai, I won't make you make a neder and not my inheritors, and not to the ba'im b'reshuti, not the person I sell my ketubah to or my rights to. All of these people, alayich, if he says on you, while you're shayach and your inheritors and your ba'im b'reshutech, then this is all a quote from the Mishnah yesterday. Ein yachol lahashpia. You can't make her make a shvuah. Lohu, not the husband. Lo yarshav, lo habam b'reshuto. No one from his estate, and not her. They can't make her and anyone from her estate. Lo hiva lo yarshav, lo habam b'reshuta. So that was the Tanakama. That was the Stam Mishnah. Is that if you write the language in the ketubah, that I will never require you to make a shvuah, not me, and not my inheritors, and not my estate, and not you and your inheritors or your estate. That language holds. And there's no shvuah. And so comes Rabbi Shimon to say it's not the case. Because as we said yesterday, after Rabbi Shimon the Meimar, Kozman shetovat ktubata, no matter what you wrote, no matter what the language was, the Yarshin can be mashpiyin ota. The inheritors can force her to make a shvuah. And that is what we quoted yesterday, if you recall, Kamiflikli Beplukta, da Abishol ben Ima Miriam, right? We argued Abishol ben Ima Miriam on Amud Aleph yesterday, if you recall, said, look, if the man writes in the ketubah, you don't have to swear, you don't have to swear. However, there's one exception. Whenever you collect from orphans, right, he said, what do I do? The Chachamim made a takana, that if you're collecting from people who are orphans, you always have to swear. Right? And so no matter what you write in the ketubah, no matter what he writes, he can say very explicitly, you don't have to swear, even if you're collecting from orphans, it's null and void, because you cannot overrule that rule of the Chachamim. And so that's what Rabbi Shimon is saying. Rabbi Shimon is Ka'abba Shaul, and the Rabbanan are K'Rabbanan. Matkifla, Rav Papa, that makes sense for the first part of what Rabbi Shimon said. Atenach, the words, Kozman shetovat ktubata, that as long as she's collecting her ketubah, she has to pay. But what about the second words? The second words were, Eino tovat ktubata, she doesn't have to swear, right? If she's not claiming her ketubah, she doesn't have to swear. Of course she doesn't have to swear. Why would she swear? She's not claiming anything, right? Ma'ikil meimar, Elam Rav Papa, that is one final halacha. That's the Fuke Reb Eliezer Umachlukto. That is to argue against the case. This was 2 days ago's daf already, where Rabbi Eliezer and the Chachamim had an argument 2 days ago about when a person assigns his wife, while he's alive, presumably, to be an apotropos, to be the executor or the manager of his estate, whether she has to make a ketubah or not, make a shvuah or not, right? And earlier, Rabbi Eliezer said she makes a shvuah. The Chachamim agreed in some cases. Rabbi Shimon is coming to say, I totally disagree. A wife who is taking care of her husband's business never has to swear. They're not business partners, they're married, right? And so she doesn't get responsibilities to make a shvuah like a business partner would. The only exception, the only time when we have a woman make a shvuah is by ketubah, right? And presumably the reason is that the ketubah, remember, is a amount he owes her. And it was very common that during her lifetime, during his lifetime, I'd say, she collected money against her ketubah, right? That there would be times where she would say, I need some money, and I'll take an advance, basically. And so it's very common that over life, some of the ketubah was paid off. So we make her make a shvuah. But for all other things, all other apotropos things, all other business arrangements, if she's in charge of his store, if she's one of his business associates, we don't require her to make a shvuah, because if the husband trusts his wife, that's enough, right? That's a part of their relationship. And so she never has to make a shvuah, and that's, many people feel this is how we paskin. Tosas here brings a very interesting case of a practical case where there was a woman who, the husband died, I think was the case, and the orphans came and said, she was managing the store for the last 10 years, and we really don't think the books were making sense, right? And so we want to make her make a shvuah, and Tosas here says, probably according to Smart, you could not require her to make a shvuah, because the only things you can make a shvuah on are the ketubah and not anything else. And that's, it's in Tosas' middle one. It brings us an interesting case. So either way, it was clearly very practical, especially when there were more than one wife, right? So there were kids from multiple wives and you don't know who to trust. But this seems to be the way we paskin, is that you make a woman make a shvuah for her ketubah only, but not for other business that she was involved in the house. And that was a good quick daf. And we're up to the Mishnah, so we're going to stop here and pick it up tomorrow. I want to see everyone to have a Gemar Chatimat Tova. Happy New Year. And Stan, we'll see you next Shabbat. We missed you yesterday. Okay, have a good day, everyone.
Sorry I missed you, but I'll
catch up
with everything.
It was early.
Okay.
Yeah, have a good week, everyone.
You too. Thank you,
Be
Eli.
well, everyone.
For all your work.